Right, so this is going to be my second draft of the meeting. It's pretty much going to be an overview of why I chose to do what I did and an explanation of where I got it from, just how it all came to light, I suppose. So, firstly, we're going to be starting on page 1. Both of the copies of the first draft and second draft are in the description below if you want to check them out. You can follow them along with me. So if we get past the first page, I've got both my original script with all of its writing on it. Let's get a good view of that. And on my laptop screen, I've got the second draft, which I'm going to be going through. So it starts off. You're going to be in a fenced-off park, and this is very relative. Like this was what I based my trailer off of, not a trailer, sorry, a 2-minute screenplay off of. So enter Billy and Jimmy, two homeless men in a park. Billy is searching through the trash while Jimmy is sitting down on a bench. So Jimmy says, have you found anything? Billy says, no, nothing yet. Jimmy then sighs, gets up and says, let me have a look. Jimmy gets up out of his seat, pushes Billy out of the way and searches through the bin himself. Billy sits in the same place Jimmy did. Suddenly, Jimmy finds something. He then shouts, "Oi, Bill!" And Billy looks at Jimmy. He is holding a soft drink bottle with some still in it. So they've found a little bit of food. So that way you can decipher that they are homeless. You know, the scene starts with them opening a bin, and you know they're in a bin. They're pushing each other out of the way. He's pulled out. Oh look, here's a half empty bottle. In my original screenplay, it didn't really come out that was homeless straight. I'm not saying they have to be homeless straight away, but that's the way I wanted it to come across. You immediately knew these guys were homeless. There was no sort of ambiguity. They were homeless, and it just looks a lot better for me, I think. So. Where did I get to? Right, so Billy then says, well, what about me? Jimmy goes, what about you, survival of the fittest? So he's kind of like throwing out the little gauntlet there. But survival of the fittest, really. I found it first. Jimmy gets up and walks off towards the exit of the park and Billy follows. So now the park is on a field, and there's 2 areas in the field, or 3 areas that I'm using in the field. So... And this is all based around the UCA campus in Rochester. This is where I've got all of my ideas from. So now they're on the field, late afternoon. Jimmy leads Billy... sorry, I'm way too far ahead. Towards the exit of the park. Yeah, that's it. Jimmy leads Billy towards a shack in the middle of the field. Billy goes, are you sure we should be going this way? Jimmy sarcastically says, I'm sorry, Billy, did you have a better idea? Exactly, you never make the decisions, you're not built for it. Not since we lost that Scott a while back. All you had to do was keep a lookout. Why do you have to bring that up? You know that wasn't my fault. If you actually let me prove myself every once so often, you might actually like what I bring to the table. Jimmy then says, yeah, okay then. Kind of, shrugs it off. Again, a lot of this is in my 2-minute video. So now they're in the interior of this shack, it's late afternoon again. And the 2 guys head up the stairs to the shack, which overlooks a World War II memorial monument embraced with poppy reliefs. Billy is overlooking this monument while Jimmy is loitering, so Jimmy's just, sitting about, taking in some of the view, I suppose. So Jimmy actually turns around, he says, what are you looking at? Billy goes, oh, just a memorial. Lest we forget, eh? Jimmy then goes, I wish I could forget you sometimes. So again, bit of animosity. Billy then says, why'd you have to kill the moment? Jimmy ignores Billy and exits the shack. Billy follows confused. So this whole thing, what I wanted to do was establish, automatically to the audience, establish that Jimmy is the bad guy and Billy is the good guy. So Jimmy ignores Billy and exits the shack. Billy follows confused. You had to respect the servicemen, Jim. They fought for our country. And who's ever shown respect for us, eh? How many times did somebody kick you in your sleep for a game? How many times you ignored at a time when you really needed help? Wait, what are you looking at? So the whole time he's talking here, Out the corner of his eye, Billy notices an unattended bag in the field. As no one is around, Billy looks back at Jimmy and immediately sprints for the bag. Jimmy slips and falls, so allowing Billy to be victorious. Billy rummages quickly in the bag before Jimmy can get in there and remove a packet of crisps from the bag. Jimmy gets to the bag, notices Billy isn't looking, and removes a £5 note from the bag. So all of this scene, I wanted like the audience to finally, Billy's getting his little bit because he didn't get the drink earlier. So now he's got his crisps, and all of a sudden, Jimmy rummages through the bag and it always ends up better off. He's kind of like the falling in shit and then smelling the roses afterwards. So then we're on to Jimmy says, "Hey, aren't you going to share?" Billy says, "Fuck off, they're mine." Obviously in a bit of a joke on that, because I wanted Billy to come across as big pussy in this script. Well, guess you won't be wanting this then. This will teach you to look better. Haha. So Jimmy shoves, he removes the £5 note, shows it off, shoves it back into his pocket and exits the park. Billy follows with his head down, looking upset. So I wanted to establish, at this point, Billy is a bad guy. Not Billy. Jimmy is a bad guy, but I didn't want you to think, well, he's just a dickhead and that's it. I want the dickhead to have, a soft, sensitive side when it matters. So listen, Billy, I know I've been hard on you lately. I just don't like the position we're in. I'll tell you what, we'll split this £5 and get something nice at McDonald's. Billy says, really? Jimmy says, yes, I don't know about you, but I'm fucking starving. So now they're at McDonald's. Billy brings the food to the table, purchased with their note. Billy brings the food, purchased with their note, to the table. They each have a standard burger meal and chips and a drink. Got the food, Jim? Anything else? That's what Bill said. Jimmy says, fuck's sake, Bill, I asked for a Coke, not a Fanta. You never do anything right. Give me the receipt, I'll go get another. So he's not got his meal right. So if we scroll it, a lot of this is quite relative to the actual draft itself. So on page, it's all a bit rearranged from the old one. I borrowed parts and just swap, and to I think it fits a lot better. Now, knowing what I know now from the feedback that Simon gave me, I feel a lot more confident in this script than I did with that one. But that's just my personal opinion. So Jimmy gets up in a fit of rage and goes back to the counter to get his correct beverage. Sorry, Jim, we all make mistakes sometimes. It's alright. Right, so I don't. Simon wanted, if I just look through my script, he didn't want it. He said, think of this as an idea. Maybe more intensely if Jimmy refuses Billy food as he hasn't earned it. Now, up until that point in my original script, I didn't have anything that set Jimmy as a proper dickhead. So now I've already established him as a dickhead. I don't want to completely bury his character. So now what I want to try and do is, I've established him as a bad guy, and he lets it go a couple of times. He'll just go, like for this example, he's burying Billy, but he's not fully burying him. So he goes, it's alright, I suppose. This is why I don't give you much responsibility, because you can't deal with this sort of pressure. You can't deal with much pressure. So he's kind of letting him have his meal, but he's not going. But he's saying, well, you can't really deal with pressure. And then Billy goes, one day I'll prove you wrong. And then Jimmy sarcastically says, sure, let's hope. They both finish their meals and head to the door. So now they're outside. Jimmy says, we still need to find a place to stay tonight. Billy says, I know, it's getting to that time of year again, when 1 minute it's light, then dark the next. Let's go. I've lost my jacket too. I hope to God we find a place soon. Jimmy says, I noticed abandoned houses not too far from here, on 82nd Street. Definitely worth checking out. But first we need some resources. So I'm going to go find some clothes. Maybe you can get a makeshift fire working or something. So I say, sure, let's do this. Jimmy goes, oh, make sure you're back here in an hour. So I didn't want him to just go out and then you read my script and go, well, how did they instinctively know to come back to McDonald's at that time? So I've established that McDonald's is in a town. Normally towns have a big clock somewhere that you'd be able to read. So there's always a clock around somewhere in a like a town or a town centre. So, exhale. So they both split up and make their way to different parts of the town centre. So now they're on the exterior town centre. Now it's getting a little bit darker. It's at dusk now instead of late afternoon. Billy's looking through the bins around the town centre and finds copies of the local... So, you know, the makeshift fire I was talking about last time. Meanwhile, Jimmy is hanging around the Care in Hand Centre hoping to find some clothes. I took the money part out because I've already used the money concept now. After both searching for a little while, they meet outside McDonald's. So Jimmy's got some clothes and Billy's got the makeshift fire. So they're back outside McDonald's. Billy whips out his makeshift fireplace to show Jimmy. This should keep us warm tonight. Jimmy holds out his clothes he was given like a gift from God himself. Jesus Christ, what a score. A few rags to keep us warm through the night. So now they say, right, to the abandoned house. Time to really seal the deal. So their day's going really, really well. Now it's time to seal the deal. So Billy walks on 82nd Street with Jimmy, holding their items for the night. They find their first apparent vacant house. Sorry, they find their first vacant house. You always spot a typo when you're going through it. They find their vacant house. Jimmy heads the pack and goes in. Billy points to a potential rundown house. Jackpot. Let's hope this time I'll beat you there. So, Jimmy says jackpot. Billy says, let's hope this time I'll beat you there. So, let's hope this time, I'll beat you there. So, a lot of that I've taken out. I've taken out the first scene with the where they find homeless people first. I thought I'm just filling out 10 minutes. I'm not going to lie in saying that. All I was doing was filling out 10 minutes. The whole structure had no substance. So now they're in the interior of their house. The vacant house. Oh my God, there's so many typos now. I've looked back through this. So they're interior of this house. They both run for the front door. The door is ajar. They rush into the house and begin their search to find out if it's vacant. Jimmy takes the bottom floor. Wait, I fucked this up. Billy takes the top floor. Put Jimmy twice. Oh my God! Thank God I re-looked through this. Right. So Jimmy sweeps the top floor. Jimmy sweeps the bottom floor, which is clear, and informs Billy. So, Bill, it's all clear, mate. So, Billy, in a muffled voice, still in that same scene, says, awesome, I'm still clearing this, looks promising, though. So, Jimmy clenches his fist. I do get a little tongue twisted sometimes. So, Jimmy clenches his fist, and somewhere, actually, if I show you, this to me was hilarious. Right, so, we have a look here. It says, Jimmy clenches his fish. So, Jimmy doesn't clench a fish. He clenches his fist. Just to clear that out. He clenches his fist. And there's just like a question mark by it. It makes me look a bit silly, so I thought it was worth bringing up. So he clenches his fist and raised it in victory. So he raised it in victory. So now it's like gone to Billy, who's on the top floor of the house. Billy looks forward to the top floor. He notices a door that he can't open, as it must be barred from the other side. After many attempts, Billy dismisses it and makes his way back downstairs. So he says, all clear up here, Jimmy. Awesome, come down here and let's enjoy. So they've found this lovely squat, which they're going to stay in for the night. And Billy says, the only thing that would really make... Billy runs down the stairs and sits in the front room of the abandoned house. They proceed to wrap up nice and warm and set up the makeshift fire from the resources they collected earlier. Billy says the only thing that would really make this is that we wouldn't be homeless, as we would have our own proper responsibilities again. I miss that life, Jimmy. So Jimmy stands up and confronts tearful Billy. Again, the heel attitude coming in. Are you serious? We've made mistakes to be here. You're never pleased, are you? We get a house and you still care about something else. Sheesh. Billy is shocked at what he just said, and Jimmy returns back to his seat. Suddenly, they hear a sudden knocking coming from somewhere in the house. They momentarily stare at each other in confusion. Billy says, "We both checked the house from earlier, right?" Jimmy says, "It's just the house, relax." Billy says, "Yeah, it's been a while since I stayed somewhere that isn't a park bench." They hear the same noise again, except louder, startling Billy, making him stand up. Billy says, "Okay, so that wasn't my imagination." Jimmy says, "Yeah, that was messed up. Where did that come from? I'm going to check upstairs this time, just in case you missed anything." So it's back to like, again, you can't deal with any responsibilities, so we're going to check in case you missed anything. So Jimmy begins his search again, but upstairs, Jimmy finds a locked door that Billy dismissed as a boiler room earlier. Wait, did he dismiss it as a boiler room, or have I accidentally deleted that sentence? I just put this. Thank God I'm going through this. Dismissed earlier and tries to enter. As found out earlier, it's not opening. He calls Billy downstairs. "Billy, what's this door, mate?" "What door?" "The only fucking door that's locked." "Oh, that must be a boiler room or something. It doesn't open, seeing as it don't open, seeing as I take it, it's not been used in a while." "You have to be kidding me." So with a massive kick, he rips the doors off its hinges. Jimmy says, "Oh my fucking God." Billy then says, "Did you find anything, mate?" In front of Jimmy is a girl, laying on the floor still. Jimmy's in complete shock, speechless. Billy comes up the stairs. "Jim, why aren't you saying anything?" Billy also finds the body. "Man, this is messed up." Jimmy is breathing heavy, looking frozen, looking tearful at Billy. What do we do?" Sarcastic. "Well, you normally have the answer." So it's a bit of a shitty attitude coming from Billy, because all of a sudden the roles are reversed. "Damn, what do we do?" Jimmy is becoming more out of control and sits in the corner with his head against the wall. Billy walks over to the body. "Well, she's still breathing. Let's put her in recovery." Jimmy's shocked. "How?" Billy, "I wasn't always a bum, But anyway, this woman needs help." So from this, actually, in my original script, from my feedback, where was it? What was it, on page 9? Here we go. So I wasn't always a bum, I had careers, aspirations in life. I had this whole paragraph, and it gave away the whole story in that. And I understood what Simon said when he said, "Don't overplay to the audience. We're not this massive hero, I wasn't always a bum. I was a chief doctor or something really ridiculous." So he says, "I wasn't always a bum, But anyway, this woman needs help." So he's trying to divert Jimmy's attention to this body again. Billy rolls the woman over and notices syringes scattered all around her body. Jimmy stands and observes the body. "What was you before all of this?" Billy says, "No time, Jim. I need you to do something for me." Jimmy says, "Anything?" Billy says, "Go and find a payphone and dial 999. But Billy will lose our squat." Billy then says, "But that's the least of our problems. Hold on." And then by this time the woman's starting to foam at the mouth, starting to become a bit more out of control, showing symptoms of an overdose essentially. So Billy consoles the woman while Jimmy accepts this and runs for the payphone. So Billy then says, "Everything will be okay, just hang in there." So Jimmy runs to the booth, dials the number. "Hello, ambulance please." So in the original, that was picked up. You don't need to change to dial 999. Cheeky mistake by me. So if I redid that, it would say, "Hello, ambulance please, this woman is ill, please come quick." So no putting change in the machine, because 999 is a free number, and I didn't know about that. Look at that. Learning something new every day. So Jimmy immediately puts the phone back down and runs towards the house. Runs back into the house. So now we're back in the house. Jimmy runs back upstairs into the back room where Billy lays with the woman. "Did you call them?" "Yeah, good. We're not too far from the hospital, so it shouldn't be too long." Jimmy says, "We should be okay." Billy says, "Yeah, she'll be just fine. I was a paramedic. We used to deal with this all the time. But you make that one mistake in your life that turns your life around, and you end up here. But let's just get her downstairs. So sirens can be heard as two men carry the woman down the stairs as a pair of paramedics come inside and assist the woman, and the police tape up the door as the crime police tape. I'm trying to cough at the same time. It's really strange. So the police tape up the door as a crime scene. Billy explains the current situation and they nod their head in confirmation. The woman is loaded into the ambulance and the van drives off. So Jimmy says, well, so goes for our day, all taped up. So Jimmy runs his finger along the tape blocking the door because they've cordoned it all off. Jimmy says, I'm sorry about everything, Bill. Treating you bad and always moaning. I suppose I get scared too. Billy cuts him off. Don't worry about it. Water under the bridge. Where do we go now, Jimbo, most importantly? Time to find a new place. So Jimmy then says, well, how about you choose? And then that's where it ends. So I kind of wanted to achieve that ultimate payoff. I got it in the original. I didn't need to change my ending. I know a lot of people on my calls had to change their endings to accommodate the amount. I've spoke to a few people where their ending just didn't work, and it was just the feedback in itself was more a case of formatting my script. Like the story as a whole worked. It just worked, but it was how it was formed. A few bits to tot up, so stuff like plot through dialogue, stuff like that. I was giving away too much of the story too early, and so now I've got it, so it all fits together. Well, I think personally it all fits together a lot better than the original done. And to be honest, I don't think I'm going to need another draft upon this because there isn't much more I can do to the story to make it. I think it won't become as fine as it is. I think it's perfect in its form now. I wasn't really confident in the story before, but upon speaking about it and having more time to, taking all of the information, not just from Simon, just to really get to grips with my characters, my plot development, everything, just learning all these devices, researching myself. I think this script for me works. It works a lot better than the first one, and that's the most important thing. Is I'm more proud of. Well, I wouldn't say I was more proud because I liked my original version, but this will go down in history. But I'm happier with the outcome of my second draft, and that's really all that counts. So thanks for watching this blog post, and on to the video.